Cheer Chats Pod.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Cheer Chats podcast. My name is Gianna and I'm one of your hosts, and we have a new host, guys. We have a new one. So it's Caitlin Cruz,
Hi, guys.
and today we're joined with the long awaited guest. So this guest has been a long time coming. We've been talking about this forever. Okay. She has over 20 national titles, with 2 of those being from the NCAA. She's a world champion and a 2014 cheerleading icon. Right at the rise of social media, her journey to a world championship title was one of the most talked about stories of the 2010s within the cheerleading community. Sharing her story for the first time in 10 years, this week we are so excited to welcome Ice Lady Lightning alumna Kendall Casey onto the Cheer Chats podcast.
Yay!
I'm so happy you're here, and I'm so happy we're doing this.
I am too. I'm really nervous, but I'm really excited. I think it's going to be a good thing.
Okay, so we're just going to ease in, nice and easy. Let's just talk about the beginning. Like, talk to me about, was cheerleading something you always wanted to do? Was it like your passion from the start? Is it something you developed later on? Do we have a story with that? Talk to me about it.
Cheerleading was never anything planned out. My dad's sister, my aunt, was a cheerleader at the gym that I started at, and then I kind of just got put into it. So it wasn't ever planned. I just got put into it. My sister and I did, and it kind of just went from there, honestly.
Yeah. So, like we said before, you're from Ice Lady Lightning was the most recent gym you had been a part of.
Mm-hmm.
Cheerleading in general is perceived as like a coastal sport. It's something I talked about with Caitlin last time she was on the podcast, about how it's very like East Coast, West Coast type of situation. But there are a lot of Midwest and Central US teams. One of them like now being like Max Star, like all, what is it called? Max Star?
Mac All Stars, yeah. And then I
Right.
think Rivals and Utah too.
Yeah.
Some of like the biggest in the name right now.
Yeah, and I think Cheer Central Suns was Colorado, right?
Yeah, but
And
now
then-
it's Cheer Athletics Denver.
Yeah, rest in peace, girl. But with that being said, the central, there's a lot of teams that get lost in the middle of that debate.
Mm-hmm.
So, how do you think your upbringing in a gym that wasn't a coastal gym, or like a gym people looked at a lot, was unique to your experience in the community that you grew up in? Like, do you notice any differences from other, like looking at other people's experiences in gyms?
I think it was unique because we really just did it because we loved the sport, and then it kind of, once we turned a certain age, it kind of just went a little crazy, and then the Midwest gyms did get noticed, which was really cool. But it never was really anything that we were like obsessed over, or like, I mean, we thought it was awesome and like really cool and stuff, but it was never anything that we were just like, that wasn't the reason we were doing cheer, but it was really cool that we were starting to get noticed as we gotten older. And then like when we went small senior, it did get a lot bigger and we got more known. So it was cool, I guess. I don't really know.
Yeah. What was that like for you to like we said before, it was, you grew up kind of in the peak of social media really starting to take off. What was that
Yeah.
transition like? Because really you have the before and after viewpoint of it. Like, you knew what it was like before, and now
Mhm.
obviously retrospectively you know what it's like after. So what was that like to have both of those experiences?
Yeah, it was super weird because I'm from a really small town in Green Bay, Wisconsin. So when I'm in Green Bay, it's like, even growing up, it was like, oh, I'm just in Green Bay. I'm just any other little kid just doing a sport of cheer. And then it was like, what me and my sister always called it was like, we felt like we were Hannah Montana almost. It was like the best of both worlds. We were in this little small town, and then we would go to a competition, and it would just be like the complete opposite, like walking around asking for autographs and pictures and stuff. And then after that little Hannah Montana moment, we'd just fly back home and we'd be nothing. So it was like really cool because it wasn't so like aggressive all the time, but it was also just like a really cool experience, and cool that we were getting recognized for our sport because that's what we were truly passionate about.
I love that Hannah Montana moment, and that's just so true because we go to these competitions, and I remember like the first time someone asked me for a picture whenever I was on my 4.2 team, I was like, "You want a picture with me?" Like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh. And even my mom would like freak out, like sometimes being like, oh my gosh, my daughter, people want a picture with my daughter.
Yeah.
So it definitely is that Hannah Montana movement. And like when you come home and they're like, oh, you cheer? Okay.
Or you go like back to middle school and they're like, cheer's so dumb. Like, I don't even know why
Yeah.
you missed so much school for going to like a cheer competition. And I'm like, you don't get it, but that's okay. I'm
Yeah.
glad you don't get it. So,
Yeah, I
yeah.
remember like the first time that anyone ever like asked me for pictures when I was on Lady Luck's, and it was like a local Greensboro like competition or whatever. And I remember my mom like also wanted a picture of me with this random girl. Like she was like, "Oh, this is so
Yes,
cute."
my mom too.
Yeah, and like
My mom
posted
too.
it on Facebook and was like,
That's
"Oh,
how
meeting a fan." And I
that's
was
how
like,
I was with Maddie Gardner was like my like I loved her. Like that is the one person I was like, I need a picture with her. So then when people started asking me for pictures, I'm like, am I like these little girls, Maddie Gardner? Like
Yeah.
that's so cute, you know? But
I
yeah.
"Yeah."
remember meeting Maddie Gardner. I did a UNC clinic at Chapel Hill, and when she was a cheerleader there, and then she was a news anchor for my town. And so
Mm.
during like the 4th of July, she was there with the news station. And my mom and I went, and I remember I was so nervous talking to her. Like she was like, I don't know, like Harry Styles standing in front of me. I was so nervous. I
Yeah.
was like, "Hi, I'm such a big fan."
Yeah.
And I feel like she was everyone's like
She's an
cheerlebrity.
icon. Yeah,
Yes.
for sure.
Yeah, oh my gosh, like it brings back so much memories of like it like TGLC was it for me. Like that was my TGLC and almost embarrassingly admittedly Courtney was like my oh my god moment. Like I remember when I made Spotlight, like I didn't even care I didn't make Lady Luck. I was like I'm going to be coached by Courtney. But when I tried out for cheer extreme the first time and I made Spotlight, I remember Betsy called my mom and she was in the Chick-fil-A drive-thru. I will never forget that. And she was literally like she was like yeah like with her accent, you know, and she was like oh like hold on 1 second, and she like gave her order to the man in the window and then like came back and was like so Spotlight, right? It was so funny, but
Yeah,
it's
that
so
sounds like
fun,
Betsy.
and it makes you
Hmm.
appreciate people coming up to you more because you know what that felt like when
Yeah.
you were on the other side of that. But
Yeah.
yeah, so obviously Ice Lady Lightning was like a big part of your life and your story, but let's get into a little more about like how you got there, like what got you there.
So, I was at the gym that's in my hometown, my first gym ever. Grew up there. That's where we kind of became big and stuff. Um, my sister has been along for the ride with me since day one, right by my side, but Kylie was actually a couple years younger than me. So she was on juniors when we were on juniors, and then we changed the junior team into small seniors. She ended up not being old enough, so she had to like sit out for I think it was a year or two or something like that. But I mean, the biggest cheerleader for the whole team, like her dream was just to always like be on the small senior team when she was old enough. And the summer into it, she made the team when she was old enough, and we went through the whole summer. We had this thing called like cheer homework, which was so weird. I don't know if you guys ever had to do cheer homework. But essentially it was we all had to buy these notebooks, and our coach made us like write what we did wrong, what we did good, like all these things like after practice and like turn it in as homework. And there was this one practice, and let me just tell you first, Kylie is like the most amazing person I've ever met. She was an amazing athlete. She was always known as Kendall's little sister, or like Fluff's little sister, if you guys know what that nickname is from. And she's just like so supportive that she just took it. And now I look back on it and I'm like, that's just like not cool, you know? Like Kylie was amazing. She was better than me at cheer. And so we there was this one practice. Kylie hated flying. She hated it. She was an amazing tumbler, amazing at everything else. Hated flying. She just had a really bad practice flying. And our coaches had told her that she was just kind of just like digging into her and telling her that she was like the shooting gun of the team and like just these really horrible things. And I was sitting next to Kylie while we were doing our cheer homework, and I saw her write that in the notebook. And ever since then, I saw her write that in the notebook. She just had like the worst week ever. Like, wasn't eating, wasn't sleeping, just like wasn't her normal, happy, bubbly, like running around self. And once Kylie went to sleep that night, I went to my mom's room and I was like, Mom, like Kylie wrote this in her notebook and I don't think she's okay. And I don't think that a 12-year-old should be writing that in her notebook, that she is the shooting gun of a cheer team that she just has been so excited to be on.
Yeah.
So my mom read that and scheduled a meeting right away. We all went to the gym to have a meeting. The meeting, just like me and Kylie were outside of the meeting. We weren't even in it. Um, we were with like our other teammates outside, just like playing or something. I don't know. We were like 12 and 14. And she, all of a sudden, you just hear like screaming, just screaming. And mind you, my mom was a coach at this gym as well. A coach. She was a physical therapist, so she was kind of like a part of like the doctor team, like whatever. She was just always, every time I was stepped in that gym, my mom was in there. Like she was a very big part of this gym.
Yeah.
And I just hear screaming and screaming and more screaming, and I'm like, oh, I looked at Kylie and I'm like, Kylie, I don't think this is going well at all. Like I don't know what's about to happen. But we thought cheer was our whole life. Like we never thought we'd ever be done with it. And my mom, like, the door flung open and there's more screaming. And my mom said, let's go, we're done. And we're like, whoa, what? Like, what do you mean we're done? Like, this is crazy. She goes, get out of the door. So we go out of the door. We leave the building. There's still more screaming. We get in the car and we're all just like shocked. And Kylie's just crying. And my mom's like, you guys are done. Like, there's no more cheer. Like, this is not okay. And that's kind of the start of it. That's what really happened and why we quit. There's so many like rumors that like I intentionally went to another gym just to do it. Like it was just really bad and really hurting like my sister mentally. And she's not a mental person. She's like the strongest person in the whole entire world. And that just hurt me to see her like that, hurt my mom to see her like that. And then just for the meeting to not go okay when we were just such a big part of this gym was just kind of heartbreaking. So we ended up leaving crying. I remember we're crying on the way home. We get home. Me and Kylie are just sitting in Kylie's room and we're like, we just can't cry about this. Let's just go for a bike ride. So we're literally children, okay? We just go for a bike ride. We go play tennis. We're like calling our teammates. We're like, sorry guys, we had to quit. We don't know what to do. This whole thing. We had like people showing up at her house after, like other moms to the gym. Like it was just insane. And we let it rest for like a couple days. We ended up going like up north to one of our really close, another another family that was a part of the gym. That family and my family were super close. We went up to their cabin up north for like the weekend and we all talked about it and we just kind of like got closure from it and we're like, we're just done, whatever. We go back into town. Mind you, we were missing practice, even though we weren't even in it. We were missing practice, getting screamed at for missing practice, whatever. And we go back home and we just live our normal life. And I think that's when my mom kind of helped me announce that I was done cheering because I really was like, we were done and that was it. And literally, I don't even think it was a day or two after we had gyms just calling, DMing me on Instagram, all of these crazy things. And I'm like, whoa, because being with a host family and moving across the state for cheer was just not a thing at this point. Like this was
Yeah.
2014.
Yeah.
And
I think
it was just like, I don't know.
cheer homework is probably the crazy. I'm like still stuck on that. Like
Yeah.
Oh, cheer homework?
I think it's one thing to obviously, and like this was something they emphasized at Cheer Extreme, it's one thing to have a 50-50 of mental physical because it is in cheerleading. I think a lot of people don't think about the mental aspect of it or they haven't in the last 10 years. But to give homework and call it homework is kind of insane to me because it also just, and this might sound like crazy, I guess, but it's like the logic in my head. Like when you do homework or you do things for school, you're doing it for a grade, right? Because you want to get like that perfect 100, that perfect score.
Yeah.
But in cheerleading, I feel like it's not linear like that. It's not, there is no definition of a successful career or successful athlete. Like there is no 100. Like you can't even score a 100. Like it's, I don't know. Like that's just crazy to me.
And if you like messed up or something, like you would have to write something specific that they want you to write like 100 times and then turn that in. And we're like, listen, we're also in school, so we'd be in our
Right.
carpool on the way to practice. We're like, everybody write as fast as you can. We're like, we don't have time for this. Like, we're
Oh,
children in
wow.
school. Like, it was
That's
crazy. It was
crazy.
hmm
Oh my
like
God.
I
Wild.
probably did more homework for cheer than I actually did in middle school. Like, it was insane. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, this isn't helping me.
That's
But
so, oh
yeah.
my gosh. And it's so funny too because like, and Caitlin, I don't know if like you can relate to this, but it's so funny when you're at a smaller gym before you get to like your dream, your big one, and they always think that you're never gonna do it. You know what I mean? Like they never
Yeah.
think you're gonna actually leave. They talk to you and they abuse you verbally. Like I'm not speaking for you, Kendall or Caitlin, but like from my experience, like they abuse you in ways like that, but the day you actually walk out the door, they're dumbfounded. They can't believe it. And that part is
Yeah.
so frustrating to me because it's like, how do you not know? Like, it
Right.
just makes you feel so small as like an athlete because they really just thought you wouldn't. Like, they thought you would just take it. And like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
hmm
And I have a similar um story to that of like what Gianna said. My gym, like my smaller gym, had 30 people in it. It was a very, very small gym. Like probably D4 if that was an option. Um, but that closed, and so I wasn't done with cheerleading. I was like, I have to do something. Where am I gonna go? Am I gonna commute an hour and a half to go to Charlotte every day? Like, am I gonna go to this gym? Am I gonna go to another D2 gym? And cheer extreme like never seemed like an option. I was like, I'm not good enough to go to cheer extreme. Um, and so then the rest is history. And this past year was my last year. But like, it's crazy that you never think that that's an option, and then you do have those people telling you like, oh, that's not going to happen. You're not going to be successful. Like telling that to a kid is just crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. When these gyms were calling my mom and like trying to reach out to me and stuff at 14, I'm like, this is crazy. Like, this is not
Yeah.
real because I
Yeah.
don't deserve that. I don't deserve to be on any of these teams. Like, this is crazy talk. So
And
I
that's,
was like,
yeah. And that's also something we're kind of seeing right now. Not going to name names, but I think we might know who I'm talking about. But there is a little like controversy about like certain gyms that are DMing athletes or having their athletes DM athletes and like the whole idea. You know what? I'm just gonna say it. It's like with the large co-ed division, like they're having
Yeah.
that issue of like come here, come here, come here, and it's all of them. It's Cheetahs, it's Steel, it's TGLC. They're all doing it, and I don't know. It never made sense to me, but I think having athletes do it is kind of, it doesn't feel as like upfront and as crazy. I feel like having a coach call you and be like, "Hey, we want you here." And it's funny because with cheerleading, it's never held to the same standard as any other sport, but that's exactly how it would work.
Exactly how it happened. Yeah.
Yeah, that I don't know. It's
hmm
like such a weird difference in cheer that is having a coach do it is so strange, but having an athlete do it is like normal. But in like the college
yeah,
recruitment world, it's like the complete opposite.
yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah. It's crazy.
yeah, I mean this is already like insane as it is. Also,
Mhm.
I was like I wanted to let you like get all that out and talk, but I want to go into a little bit of it. Like when you said the parents were
hmm
coming to your house, do you know if like that was something the coach like what did the coaches tell the athletes when you left? Was there any did you ever hear of what they said after you were gone? Like how did they tell them?
Um, to be completely honest with you, I don't even know. All I know is that they said whatever that family says is not true and it didn't happen. And I said, okay. And my mom said, check the cameras then. There's cameras everywhere. Check the cameras. There's cameras. I have my sister's notebook in my hand, whatever. But it's also like, if they didn't want to believe me, that's on them. It's like they went through everything that I went through. They were on my team. I grew up with them since I was 6 years old. And it almost for me was like I didn't really care if they didn't believe what happened, and I didn't really care what anyone really thought about the situation, which is why I've never spoken about it. I really just cared that I lost all of my best friends and my sister lost all of her best friends, and like those were the girls that were supposed to be in my wedding. All of their moms were in my mom's wedding. They were all my mom's bridesmaids. So it's like, I don't know. It's just like that was the part that really hurt me and my sister, was just losing all of these people in our life, I think. But yeah,
Yeah.
nobody believed anything. Only a couple of families. I think, I mean, the families that were there have to believe it because they saw it and they were in the meeting, but I think other than that, only two other families really believed what happened.
Yeah, that's really sad too, and it again goes back to that aspect of like there's no focus and there's no spotlight in the Midwest teams. Obviously now that's an exception like we talked about, but like back then it was just kind of he said she said situation. So,
Mhm.
I yeah, it's tough, and like to lose people over that too is like I didn't by any means I didn't leave the gym I went to before Cheer Extreme on good terms. That to this day they blocked me on everything. We don't talk. Like it just is what it is. But like
Yeah.
it's just so I think that, and I totally feel you on that too. Like it's not leaving the gym. It's not like there is that comfort that you have there, but that can be overlooked with the way that you had been treated. And it's always crazy too because
Yeah.
when you leave is when you realize like why did I sit there for that long, and you start going back.
Yeah.
But like it's those friends that you lose, or like the amount of times that I'm sure you probably been told, and like I've gotten told in my life, like, well, they didn't do that to me. And it's like that's not the point. Like abuse is still abuse, and this like it's so I don't know. It's so crazy to me.
Well, what's crazy is that after my sister and I actually left and things went on, like after like I think it was like after a year, like a lot of families started leaving, and a lot of like like really important people that were big assets to that gym have been leaving, and I'm like, other people have to see it too, but we never really talked about it. We never really spoke about it after it happened. So I don't really know, but I did see like a lot of people leaving after we left, which was crazy.
Yeah.
So I don't
And
know.
you said too, like all the coaches were reaching out to you and like wanted you to be a part of their team if you after you like officially said you were
Hmm.
done. Talk to us about
Yeah.
how you landed with Lady Lightning. How did that happen?
So very good question that I do want to say so badly. Um, so all these teams, California All Stars, Top Gun, Ice Lady Lightning, whatever, all these teams, and I'm like, Mom, this is crazy. Like, this is not real. Like, are you gonna let me do this? Like, I'm 14, right? And she's like, let me know which one you want to be on if you want to do this. And I'm like, dang, okay. So I kind of just spent like the whole night on YouTube, and I'm like, what team do I want to be on? Like, this is kind of cool. And I originally picked Top Gun Large Co-ed. I think they're a great team. I've never been on a co-ed team. I've always been on small seniors, all girl teams always. And I was destined on that team, and that's the team I was on. Like that was it. I had a host family, I had everything. And it was like Monday. It was a Monday, and I was at school or something. And someone had reached out to me or reached out to my mom from Ice Lady Lightning. And I was like, my mom called me during school, and I'm like, I don't know. I can't do that. Like, I just can't. Like, I already have a flight booked to Miami. I'm going to Miami. That's where I'm going. I have a host family. That's it. I can't compete against my best friends, even though they weren't my best friends anymore. But I just couldn't do it to myself. Like, I'm like, that's crazy that you're even asking me this. And I just hung up and went to class. I'm like, no. And I thought about it in class, and my mom's texting me in class, and she's like, you are going to be like a lot closer to home because I mean, Wisconsin to Miami and Wisconsin to Chicago, you know what I mean? It's literally right there. And thought about it. I went home, I talked to my sister about it, and you know, I'm 14, so I don't really have a big say in anything. And my mom's like, I think you should pick Lady Lightning. Like, it's right there. And I'm like, okay, that does make sense. I'm very close to my family. I want to be around my family as much as I can. Like, I'm 14. And so my mom canceled my flight to Miami. We told the owners I'm not coming anymore. And it was a Monday. And that Wednesday, I was supposed to get on the flight to Miami. That Wednesday, I
Oh my
said,
gosh.
drove to Chicago with my mom. And that's where it all began. And it was insane. And I just want, even if my old teammates or anyone's watching, this is not intentional. This was just that it was so much closer to home, and it was such a great gym. And I just wanted to cheer. That's it.
Was it
So
always
yeah.
Lady Lightning? Like, was that the offer that was on the table? Because I don't know if Thunder was around then too. Like, was Lady Lightning
Yeah.
where they wanted you to go?
Yeah, just because Thunder was around, but just because I think I did small seniors my whole life and I was just a small senior girl, like that's what I was known for. So I think it just honestly all fit together like a puzzle piece and it just made the most sense. But yeah, Lady Lightning was the team that they had offered me
Yeah, and was it?
And how long was the commute?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask.
from Wisconsin to there. So I actually moved in with a host family. I moved away from my family and left or lived in Gurnee, Illinois. That's like I think it's like 3 hours away from my hometown. But then we also had to commute from Gurnee to Naperville. So that was like an hour and a half drive to practice. So I really never came home. I was only really allowed to come home for Christmas, I think.
Yeah. How did you find that like family balance? Because you mentioned your sister also was a cheerleader at your old gym. Did she
Hmm.
come with? Like, how did that situation end up resolving for her?
Yeah, so nobody knows this either. This is so funny. Kylie came with me to tryouts, and Kylie was not trying out. She's 12, and but I was like, dude, just go have some fun, go jump on. The gym was a million times bigger than my old gym, and it was awesome. Like she was with my host family. One of the girls was on my team, so and she had a younger sister that was kind of Kylie's age, so they were just messing around, going on the tumble track, whatever. And one of my coaches looks at me and he goes, "Is that your sister?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's Kylie. Like she was on the team with me. Like da, da, da." He pulls her on the floor and he goes, do this, like do a punch run through the double or something. And Kylie's never done that. She's like, okay. So she just did it. And he goes, do you want to be on the team? Like they were like kicking off two people for me and my sister. And they're like, Kylie made the team before I made the team. Okay. And it's just like, what? And everyone's like, I don't know. Everyone is like, oh, screw Kendall. But I'm like, dude, Kylie was going to be on the team too. But yeah, my mom was thinking about it for like a minute and then she was like, that's crazy. She's 12. Like that's a big difference. But yeah, Kylie made the team. She's really good. She made the team as a tumbler girl. Amazing tumbler. But yeah, that's
Yeah,
how that happened.
that's crazy.
So did she stay on it for that season as well?
No, my mom
Okay.
made her go home. She didn't cheer after that. She was really done with cheer. I wasn't.
Yeah, so you mentioned like the gym was a lot bigger. Walk us
Hmm.
through. I want to like it's kind of like a two-part question. I want to know like how the culture was different. Like did it feel immediately different when you walked in there? What was that atmosphere like? And then also, did you notice any cuz like every gym has their own quirks with tryouts and what they want to see and whatever. Like I was doing cartwheels down the corner in cheer extreme. So like even though they knew I didn't tumble and kind of like thought it was funny. But like, what was that tryout process like? And was it any different than the one that you'd been at? And just like the atmosphere in general? Like, was it immediately like, wow, this is different?
The culture was completely different. I think it was just because it was a really known topic in the cheer world. So me walking in, everyone was like, "What the heck is she doing here? Like, we know who you are, and what are you doing here?" So that in that aspect, it was like a lot different. But just like at my old gym, we didn't have like trainers, we didn't have like specific tumbling coaches and da 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 da. We had like two coaches that did everything, and that was basically it. So that was super weird, but really cool. And just like they had like a lot more equipment, like just a bunch of things. And I don't know, it was a lot different, but it was like a good different. Like I really, really liked it and I felt like really safe there, if that makes sense. And tryouts were I didn't really go to tryouts. There wasn't any tryouts. Tryouts were already done by the time I got there. Um it was really like Kendall try to sneak in through the back door and just jump on the floor and this team knows you're coming, so just be ready. And I'm like, oh shoot, I'm scared because this is already a team. Like this is a team. I'm like they're kicking someone off for me. So I guess it technically wasn't a tryout, but it kind of was. Like I just tumbled with them, I stunted with them, and then they kind of just said, hey, you're off the team and Kendall's on. And I just felt so horrible, but that's basically it. I just had like a little practice with them.
Yeah. Did you notice like was there any sort of like animosity towards you, or were they like, obviously because you said like someone had to go if you were going to be on the team, and that's as cutthroat as small senior is like to this day. So was there
Hmm.
any were people upset with you? Like did you feel like anyone had like resentment towards the fact that you were there or treated you any differently, or like as far as the athletes go?
I really don't think so, no. I think that they were super welcoming since the day I was there. I mean, there were I can name like four girls on my team that were just so much older than me that were just like took care of me and just knew I was the little girl that couldn't live with their family and just wanted to cheer. So I think they were all very welcoming. They all were so excited that I was there. It was just like really just like a refresh and a new start, and it was great. And also, whoever got kicked off the team, they would go to Thunder. So they were still on like a level 5 team. Like we were switching back and forth from Lightning to Thunder all the time, switching people in and out. So I don't think it was a negative thing. I think it was all just super positive.
Yeah, like if you had to describe, because you said they were welcoming, they were kind, like they knew the situation you were coming from. I just
Yeah.
maybe use this time to like gloat about your friends on that team and how great they were to you. But what does
Oh,
being a part of that legacy mean to you now, like looking at it now?
yeah. The legacy was incredible because I mean, we won the first World Championships, I think, in the Midwest. So it was like insane. But I think honestly, just going throughout the whole season, it was never like, I mean, we always wanted to win, obviously. Small seniors is so cutthroat. It's so hard. It's so competitive. And I think we were all just like, we all just loved each other so much. Like, and that's really it. We'd be excited to go to practice and see each other. And I think really like what brought us to the end and brought us to winning worlds is we just did it with love, and we genuinely just loved each other. And that's really it. And it was a really cool year to be a part of and a really cool legacy to be a part of. And yeah, I still love all of those girls, and I always will. They were like the best people in the whole entire world.
I do have a question. I don't know how to form it, and it might be the same question that you have, Gianna, but competing in okay, sorry, in small senior in two different teams, how do you
Hmm.
like view small senior from those two? Like, how are they different in a way? Do you view small senior in a different way from one team to the other?
Um, I don't think I do. I think small seniors is just so cutthroat, and I think the only thing I would say is different is the team that I went to was a lot more competitive in the small senior division. I think we were really up there. We were really up in the top 3 everywhere we went, and we knew that. And so I think it was just more intense, and it was more like the practices were intense. But I also think like since the practices were more intense and I was on like a really great team, that I became like such a great cheerleader, and I became such a great person too. Like I changed so much from my last gym to my new gym. So I think that is one thing that's different, I guess. But yeah, other than that, it's like super the same. Small senior is just crazy.
Yeah, and I want to know like about, so you talked about your relationship with the girls on your team and what that was like coming from a gym that did those things to you and your sister, and put such like a bad light, I guess you could say, like on cheerleading for you. What do you think this, like the Lady Lightning coaching staff 10 years ago, what do you think they did for you and helped how you view the sport now? Like what was your personal experience with them, and did it feel healing for you? Like were there things that they did, like maybe specific things that they did that you were like, "Oh, that's that," like, or when people like when people like look at you when you were like, "Yeah, we don't have homework," like that's crazy. Like
Yeah.
what was the coaching like for you when you were on Lady Lightning?
Well, first, right off the bat, I ended my first practice with them, like my tryout practice or whatever. And I had my old coaches from my old gym find out I was there and called my new coaches saying, like, you can't count on her. She's a mental case. Like, don't take her. Yeah, just like digging, like jabbing me, jabbing me to all of my new coaches. And so right off the bat, they were like, dude, I don't know why you're calling me. Like, this is our girl now. Like, she's on the team. And so they took a chance on me when they didn't even have to, with all of this drama going on. So right off the bat, it's like those coaches really had my back, and they were not going to step down from anything but having my back. So I had the utmost respect for all of them, forever, and I forever will. Um, they I had like a tumbling coach, I had a flying coach, I had a assistant coach, a head coach, and I didn't have that at my old gym. So it was really nice to like say one of the coaches was really mad at me that one day or something, or I wasn't doing great. I could go to my other coach and be like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing. Like I'm having a hard time. So it was really cool in that aspect. Um, but I mean, other than that, they just really took care of me. Like they were my family, and that's what I most really appreciated. And the competition scene was really hard. Like that was really hard on me with my old gym there because we're in the same division, and those coaches stood by my side, stood in front of me when they were behind, or yeah, when they were in front of me. Like they were just the best coaches in the whole world. I could go on and on about it.
So now it's been 10 years, right? Since all of this has gone
Right.
down. Literally, it's 2024.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
took you so long to want to share this story? Like, what was there a reason that you felt ready to do it now? Because it's, I guess at this point it's happened so long ago, but I want to hear like from you, were there any issues with trying to come out with your story? And because social media now is so more willing to listen to these kinds of stories, and especially in the cheer community, they're more, because there was the cheer athletics diet in like 2012. Like, I know you saw that pass
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
Like, and so I want to know what made you feel ready to do it now, like 10 years after the fact, because you've never spoken about it before. Like, this is literally the first time you're coming on and
Hmm.
saying it and setting the record straight. So, what encouraged you to want to do that?
Um, I think I think it was such a traumatic thing in my life, and it was so traumatic just because it was my hometown. Like this is where I grew up, and I knew when I had to come back, like I was gonna see these people in public. I'm in a small town. Like I don't know, I think I was just really hurt from it, and I just wasn't over it, and I don't think I ever will be over it. Maybe this will give me a little closure. I think it will, but it was just really hard, and like I still miss my best friends that I grew up with and all of that, but I also think that there was a lot of like really bad rumors, like them saying, like right before majors, they said that my dad was threatening them to bomb their gym or something. There were just like really, yeah, really bad rumors, and that's when I was like, okay, this can get really messy. Like I just didn't feel comfortable, and I just was like, this is so crazy. Which is crazy because I love standing up for myself, but like at this point, I was
Yeah.
like, I just can't. Like, and I think I was just over it. I'm like, dude, this is crazy news. I just can't. I don't even know what to say at this point.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Did they try
I
to,
just wasn't healed.
yeah, in the years leading up to this, did they ever try to like stop you from coming out with it?
Um, I don't think so. No, we don't really talk that much. I saw them after I got back from getting my World's ring though, at from Lady Lightning. I came home and I saw a bunch of them, and it didn't go very well. And then I think after that, it was just like we never talked again. There was no communication.
Yeah. I want to know, I want like a little breakdown of the world championships for you and like what that experience was like. I want to know
Mm,
what, obviously all of us have our own feelings of like when we win and like that, like Caitlin knows what I'm talking about times four at this point, but like what that feeling was like for you. And then on top of that, like knowing what that whole year prior was like to get you to that moment. I want you to just like sum up the world championships that year for you.
yeah, the World Championships were crazy. I knew that I knew we were a great team. We did great all season, and I knew we were a top three team. Um, I knew we had a really good chance of winning. We just had to do our job. So that was just my mindset going into it. But I was really focused. Like I really just was in the hotel room 24/7 until I had to compete, and then I go back in the hotel room because I just didn't want any drama, and that's what I really trained for my whole entire life. So in the World Championships, I did my thing, and I had my whole family there supporting, and my old gym kind of tried to I wouldn't say harass, but like bully me in warm-ups just to try to get me to mess up and all these things. But I really just stuck to my teammates and just really went all out, and it worked out for me. And winning after that whole year with through all that craziness was like the best feeling in the whole entire world. Like it just, I don't think I will ever experience that feeling ever again. Like it was just undescribable. I don't know. It was crazy.
But I definitely understand what you're saying about the I don't understand, sorry, let me rephrase. But like you mentioned of being in the warm-up room with your competitor, and especially in a case like this where you were at that gym and then didn't have a good experience, talk us
Mhm.
through like what your mind was like going into warm-ups, like knowing that you are going to see them and trying to be focused. I know you're talking about like going into the hotel as soon as you're done with practice and done with competing. Like talk us through that a little bit.
Well, I dealt with that the whole entire year. So at that point at Worlds, it was like, this is a freaking walk in the park. They've done this at every single competition. And so I was kind of used to it. But again, like my coaches, they would literally surround me with coaches just in my face. Like I literally could not see anything. And that really helped me a lot. So that was good. And yeah, I really dealt with it all year. So it was really nothing new. But um, yeah, I don't know. What was the last part of the question?
I think that was it. I think it was good.
Okay.
Yeah, and did you, so your experience, obviously, like you knew at these competitions, at local competitions, whatever, like you knew that these people ultimately you would have to see them. It was inevitable. You were in the same division. It
Hmm.
just had to happen.
Hmm.
How did you let that affect or did it not affect your experience at the World Championships? Like, do you have any regret of trying to like dodge them or anything like that? Or were you just, I don't want to speak for you, but like, did Lady Lightning create that kind of like a physical barrier to keep you away from it? How did knowing that going into like the biggest competition of your life affect the way
Yeah.
you went about it and the fun that you did or didn't have?
Um, well, the girls never did anything wrong to me. So it was never the girls because I love the girls. I'll always love the girls, but I would actually try to say hi to them sometimes at competitions, and my family would too, just some like our teammates, and they would get shunned. They would get in trouble if they even said hi to me. So I kind of just stopped trying, and then um I dealt with it the whole year. Majors, they were saying that stuff about my dad trying to bomb the gym and just like doing the little Twitter fingers, trying to bash me on Twitter. So me and my coach sent them flowers before majors and said, "Hey, good luck at majors." Like I really tried to take the high road as much as I could, and everything was leading up to Worlds, and I knew that, and I knew in my head that like I was not going to let this can affect me at every single competition, but it's not going to affect me at Worlds. So Worlds, I really just was just in my own head with my own team. And they literally, like, I won right next to them, and it was like I was still tunnel vision. Like I didn't care anymore, because it was just like, whatever, dude, if you want to treat me this way and you want to treat my family this way and you want to get shunned for even talking to me, like, then I just can't do anything at this point. So I think Worlds was just a whole different experience, and we were also very sheltered. Like we couldn't really do a lot at Worlds. Like I said, like practice hotel, compete hotel, win Worlds hotel, do the encore performance hotel. So it was really just, we were very sheltered at Worlds. So
I do have a question of what you just mentioned, and we were always told in practice about the encore
yeah.
performance. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because from what we've heard, it's just you win and then you go straight back into warm-ups and then you have to compete again.
Oh my gosh, that was not the case. It was awful. I think that was the first year that the encore thing was a thing.
Hmm.
So we had one Worlds, and usually like we're done, right? We're done with our season. We can go to Disney World, whatever.
Yeah.
And that's what we wanted to do. And our coach said, "No, get on the bus. You're going back to the hotel. You have to take your 2 hour nap and you get ready again." And we're like, "Are you serious? Like the World Championships are gonna make us do an encore performance? Like this is crazy." Whatever. So we did it. And they didn't have I think it was the large co-ed and large all girl teams. I think that's when they were competing when we were doing our on performance. So they were going and then one of us would go, whatever. And it was outside at the baseball field. Oh my gosh. And my team didn't go on until 11 p.m.
Oh my
11
gosh.
p.m. And I was so tired. Like, if you guys go back and watch it on YouTube, like, we finish our routine and we're all yawning, and people in the comments are like, these poor girls. Like, it was horrible. And the small co-ed team, I don't even know who won it. I forgot. But the small co-ed team that won didn't even show up to the encore performance. So we're like, why do we have to be here if they don't have to be here? Whatever. So yeah, our coaches were like, honestly, don't you like you could do a two to tuck. Like, we don't really
Yeah.
care. Like, we literally already won. Like, it was awful, and I don't recommend. And it was hot and humid, and we were on a baseball field, so it was even worse.
Yeah, that's crazy. And that
Yeah,
was
we've always like been told about it, but like that just seems crazy to me.
yeah.
Because I always feel like
Hmm.
I would want another performance because even if you do have a great last like final routine, you just kind of don't want that to be the end. So I think the
I
encore
wanted
performance.
it to be the end.
I completely
Yeah.
I was
understand. I definitely, if I was made to like go back out and do another routine, I'd be like, are you kidding me? Because that's also kind of the glory of going into finals. You're like, this is the
This is
last routine
it.
you're ever gonna do,
Yeah.
so
Oh my
might
gosh,
as well
yeah.
make it good.
I
Yeah.
was bawling backstage. My final performance. Like, this was that was it. That's what we thought. We didn't even know encore was a thing. And I was just bawling backstage. I'm like looking at my stunt group. I'm like, I don't want this to end,
Yeah.
because they were all seniors. And then we're like, okay, I take that back. I wanted it to end, and I don't know why we're going to compete at 11 p.m.
So
So we
was it
didn't
just
even
for
get to
like
celebrate.
family to watch, or was it like just like
No,
fans to
it
watch?
was
Like, what was the point of it?
I
Sorry,
don't
that's
really.
kind of rude. Sorry.
No,
No,
that was
no,
funny.
no, literally, what was the point?
Yeah.
Actually, what was the point? I don't know what the point was, because like I said, large co-ed and large all girl were competing. Like, that was where they were competing at that time. So it was like a team went, and then an encore thing went, and then a team went. I think there was only two encores, because I don't think any of the other ones showed up. So I don't know what the point was. I think they were just like, oh, you're 2024 world champions and small seniors competing one last time. And we're like, dude, I don't know
That's so
what the point
funny.
was. I would have loved to be at Disney World with my world
Oh
title,
yeah.
just
There's literally
celebrating.
nothing better than going to the parks and you're like, yeah, yeah, you see it.
I didn't get
Yeah.
to do that. I was so mad.
Yeah. Well, I didn't
That's the
either,
worst.
technically. So so now this, like we said, 10 years post, we're in a post cheerleading world, all three of us actually now. Rest in peace, Caitlin's career. How how have your experiences and the things that you've had to go through in both of the gyms that you were in affect the person or contribute to the person that you are today? And what is one thing, like one takeaway? And I asked this, I think I asked it to Nia, and I might have asked it to a few other guests too from last season. What is one thing that you would tell young girls in the industry right now, or young boys in the industry? What would advice would you give to them?
um, I think that I came out with like this article on Instagram with this page that really makes mental health for athletes a really big goal. And I wrote my own article and how I felt on the situation and stuff like that. And leaving cheer and leaving the cheer world and all of those things, it was really hard. And like going to college and just like being like a normal person, like I was just a normal girl on campus like everybody else was, and I wasn't used to that. It was like really hard, and I had to go to therapy, and I developed anxiety, and it was just like really tough. And so I think the one thing, well, now I'm better. I'm really good right now. I'm thriving. But the one thing that because I do social media, I do influencing and all of that, the one thing I really, really want to make my number one goal is to show people like what I go through, and that it's okay to go through that, and then how to overcome that. So I think one of those things is telling younger athletes, whether they're in cheer or soccer or whatever sport they're in, that like cheer and the sport you're in is just not who you are, and you just have a whole nother identity. Like, it is not your identity, and it's gonna be okay, and it doesn't control your life, and it's not who you are as a person, because that's genuinely how I felt. I was like, I am nothing without cheer. I will never be successful. Like, that's really what was engraved in my brain. And I see these little girls in cheer just like struggling, and I just want to like hug them, because I'm like, it's just cheer. Like, it's okay. And like, you're gonna be okay. And I know a lot of people went through like the mental aspect of it, leaving cheer finally. because people have reached out to me. But I think that's just like my main thing is just the mental side of it is so hard just being an athlete in general. So just that, I guess. I don't know. I'm just rambling.
No, I think that's such a good answer. And like you said, like you are someone outside of cheerleading. And I think that that definitely resonates with me in a way because I I cheered until I was 23 years old, and every year whenever tryouts came around, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna cheer again. Like I don't know who I am without cheerleading. And now as a 23-year-old, I am learning that like learning who I am. So I think that's a huge part of cheerleading and being like going through a senior age and going into an international division. Um, and that's a like it's hard to realize that you are something without this sport.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think to go off of that, it's so interesting because when I go upstairs and when I go to sleep at night, I have a wall in my room that has my summit banner on it, and underneath it is all the medals I've ever won in my career, and one of them being a world champion medal, one of them being a silver medal, one of them being the medal I won summit with, which they need to get on that, by the way, with summit champion medals. What are we doing? But every night, like, I look at it and it's so funny because I have my banner, I have my medals, and underneath it are all the photos of my time at Cheer Extreme. And when I go to sleep, and this might sound dramatic, but like every time I walk past it, I always look to the photos. I don't look to the medals, I don't look to the banner. And when you win those things, and I think you guys can probably attest to this, winning worlds, and I don't want to say it doesn't matter because that's not true. It marks a achievement that you got in your life, but I never it never changed me. It never changed who I am. I still wake up the same way. I still have the same problems. I'm still a summit champion. I'm still a world champion, but I'm no different. Like I still come home and I am with my family. I'm with my friends and it never changed. And that's not true for everyone because a lot of people their heads explode when stuff like that happens, but at the end of the day, when you're done with cheer, and like this is something me and Kendall probably experienced, and Caitlin, you're gonna like probably start having those feelings too, where it's like you just realize how much it didn't matter, but it wasn't for nothing. And that's like the big thing for me is coming to terms, and that's why I'm like fine with not cheering anymore now, is I've come to terms with the idea that it doesn't matter. Like this ring that I have on my finger is what mattered to me the most. It didn't my I don't wear my world champion ring. I wear this one that Caitlin designed, by the way, so then recognition. But I wear my Lady Luck's legacy ring because that's what matters to me. Having those memories matters. The rings that I won with them is it was what it was. But
Yeah.
those are just rings at the end of the day. Like I don't know if that made any sense, but I want to thank you for coming on and feeling comfortable with sharing your story. Obviously, no
Of
one knows this,
course.
but you had reached out to me, and as the listeners, viewers on this podcast know, I didn't do that. I This was a capstone project for me. I never thought that it
Mhm.
could be anything more than that. I didn't think anyone would care, honestly, more than that. But I think there's a lot of podcasts about cheerleading out right now that are focused on the coach experience, the business owner experience, being a cheer mom, not to call anyone out, but like no one talks about these issues and the athlete issues, and there's no one to relate. And I ultimately, and I told you this when we were DMing each other a couple months ago, that like I just want to create an atmosphere. I want to make a platform. I want to make like a soapbox that athletes can get up on. And I want to give them a platform to share their story, whether it was, with a big team or not. Like everyone's experience in cheerleading is still valid and it still deserves to be heard and it's all unique. So, with all that being
Yeah,
said, I
I love
wanted
that.
to, yeah, I wanted to thank you for coming on and being vulnerable and wanting to talk about these tough things and how this healing journey has been for you. And I hope you continue to heal with it. And without sounding shallow to transition that, but how can we find you on social media to continue following and seeing your progress and what you're doing now?
My main social media platforms are Instagram and TikTok. My Instagram is at kendall.kc and my TikTok is at kendall_kc.
Perfect. Caitlin, do you want to plug?
Yes.
Oh, mine?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I am also on Instagram and TikTok. My Instagram is _Caitlin Renee, and then My TikTok is Caitlin with 2 N's Cruz.
Okay. Not Liam Payne's
Period.
girlfriend anymore.
No, too many incidences.
Yeah, guys, thank you for watching, listening, however you're looking, viewing this episode. Don't forget to follow Cheer Chats on Instagram, Cheer Chats Pod. You can follow me if you want. Just Gianna Lobin.
Go ahead, plug yourself. Yeah, plug
Just
yourself.
Gianna Lobin. That's just my name. I am on TikTok. It's the same exact username. Maybe don't find me though, because it might give me secondhand embarrassment when I start posting videos. Anyway, though, thanks for listening to this episode, Kendall. Thank you for coming on, Caitlin. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, guys, we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.